Today, we are diving into Morgan Housel's incredible book, The Psychology of Money. We're going to unpack two really powerful ideas that might just change how you think about success forever. We'll look at why that flashy sports car isn't sending the message you think it is, and what the real difference is between looking rich and actually being wealthy.
All right, let's just start with a quick thought experiment. Picture this. You're walking down the street and a gleaming new Ferrari just roars past you. What's your first thought? Is it, wow, that person must be so smart, so successful? I mean, our brains are kind of wired to see that car as a big, shiny symbol of success. But what if? What if that signal is getting totally lost in translation? So this whole idea, Housel actually has a great name for it, the man in the car paradox. And believe it or not, this insight came from a really surprising place. His time working as a valet at a fancy hotel. Yeah, his experience is pretty fascinating. He was surrounded by the most amazing cars you could ever imagine. Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces, the whole shebang. But he noticed something really weird. Whenever one of these supercars pulled up, he almost never paid any attention to the person who was actually driving it. And boom, right there, that's the disconnect. See, the person behind the wheel thinks that car is like a giant spotlight on them, just broadcasting their success to the whole world. But the observer, in this case the valet, is so mesmerized by the car that they don't even really see the driver. Instead, they just start imagining themselves in that driver's seat, using the car as a benchmark for their own dreams.
This single observation builds into a much bigger psychological trap that Housel calls the admiration paradox. And this gets right to the heart of why we chase all those status symbols in the first place.
Okay, so here's the paradox in a nutshell. We buy the big house, the fancy watch, the expensive car, because what we really crave is respect and admiration from other people. But in reality, those other people don't really see us. They just see this stuff. And instead of admiring us, they just think, man, if I had that stuff, people would admire me. The signal we're trying so hard to send just doesn't land. Housel puts this so perfectly in a letter he wrote to his own son, which he shares in the book. He says that we all have this deep, deep desire for respect. But trying to buy it with expensive stuff, it almost never works, especially not with the people whose respect you actually want. So if a V12 engine and a six-figure price tag won't get you genuine respect, what will? Well, Housel argues it comes down to things that have absolutely nothing to do with your bank account. It's your character, plain and simple. Things like humility, kindness, and empathy, that's the stuff that really draws people in and earns their true admiration. Okay, so that's the psychological side of this trap. But chasing this kind of visible status, it also comes with a very real and often very heavy financial price tag. Housel tells this great cautionary tale about a guy he calls Roger. Now, Roger drove a Porsche, so of course everyone in his neighborhood just assumed he was crushing it financially. He definitely looked rich. But then one day, the Porsche was just gone, replaced by this beat-up old Honda. And the reason? Well, it had been repossessed. Roger had the appearance of wealth, but none of the actual substance to back it up. And this right here is the absolute key takeaway. When you see someone driving a $100,000 car, the only thing you know for certain is that they have $100,000 less than they did before they bought it, or, of course, $100,000 more in debt. A fancy car doesn't tell you what someone has. It only tells you what they've spent. And this brings us to what is arguably the most important idea in the whole book. The huge, and I mean huge, and often misunderstood difference between being rich and being wealthy. First up, let's talk about being rich. Being rich is all about current income. It's having a big paycheck that lets you spend a lot of money. Being rich is totally visible. You see it in the cars, the fancy houses, the Instagram-worthy vacations. It's loud. Being wealthy, on the other hand, is a completely different animal. It's what you don't see. It's the income that you don't spend. It's the money you've quietly built up over time. In stocks, bonds, investments. Wealth is silent. It's hidden. So to put it really simply, being rich is all about showing off your money today by spending it. Being wealthy is about building up assets for tomorrow by saving and investing. It's the difference between focusing on the present and focusing on creating future options, flexibility, and real freedom. Now, the fact that wealth is invisible creates a massive problem for us, right? It makes it incredibly difficult to learn how to actually build it. There's a fantastic story about this. When the singer Rihanna almost went bankrupt from overspending, she actually sued her financial advisor. And his defense in court was just simple, brutal honesty.
He basically said, was it really necessary to tell her that if you spend money on things, you will end up with the things and not the money? It sounds so obvious it's almost funny, but that's the core of the spending trap right there.
To make this even clearer, Housel uses this absolutely brilliant analogy. Think about getting healthy. Exercise is the visible part. You go to the gym, you sweat, you're putting in the work. In this analogy, exercise is like being rich. But we all know that's only half the battle. Being wealthy, well, that's like your diet. It's the invisible act of saying no. It's the dessert you turn down, the extra slice of pizza you skip. Real health isn't just about the calories you burn at the gym, it's about the net difference. And it is exactly the same with your money. Wealth isn't just the money you make, it's the money you manage not to spend.
And this gets to the core of why this is so hard. It is incredibly easy to find rich role models. Just scroll through social media. They're everywhere, flashing their expensive stuff. But wealthy role models, they're basically ghosts. You can't see a savings account balance. You can't see an index fund growing. You can't see a mortgage that was paid off 10 years early. So trying to learn how to be wealthy just by copying others, it's almost impossible.
So if the whole point isn't just to buy more and more stuff, then what are we even doing this for? What is the real goal of building wealth?
When it comes down to it, true wealth isn't about owning a Ferrari. It's about having the ability to wake up in the morning and say, I can do whatever I want with my time today. It's the freedom to switch careers if you want to. It's the option to take 6 months off to be with your family. It's the security of knowing you can handle an emergency without breaking a sweat. That control over your own life, that is the highest dividend that money will ever pay you.
And that really leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Now that you see the difference, that gap between looking the part and actually having the foundation, what's your real goal? Is it to look rich by spending, or is it to be wealthy by quietly building the invisible assets that give you true, lasting freedom? Thanks for joining us.